All right, in today's Health Matters, the Bronx is the new focus for the Legionnaires outbreak as health officials look into 2 new cases in the Parkchester section.
So this comes on the heels of the Harlem outbreak, which killed 6 people and infected more than 100 others. Joining us this morning is Dr. Hector Javier Castro, a pulmonologist who can break down what happens to your body when you develop Legionnaires. So good morning, Dr. Castro. Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me here.
So let's talk about the situation in the Parkchester condo complex in the Bronx, because this isn't recent. It's been ongoing for like 10 months. Why is it coming up now, and why does it remain such a big concern?
Well, interesting. We do see cases of Legionnaires popping up during the late summer, early fall. That's in general where we start seeing cases.
Okay.
So we're within that timeline that we see these cases. So also we're having issues that with the summertime, we're having a lot of cooling systems, a lot of stagnant water that's around the area, and we start seeing these new cases coming up. Now in Parkchester, they have 2 cases as opposed to just over 100 cases in Harlem. So hopefully this will not escalate more, but again, we're within that time frame that we're going to start seeing cases.
Yeah, I mean, and knowing that, though, these buildings are our responsibility to clean these cooling towers, right? Knowing that this time of year, but that's a conversation for a different day. But when you talk about the spread of Legionnaires and how it's spread through these air droplets and so on and so forth, it could really carry out, and you won't know it's a Legionnaire's case maybe for weeks.
Right. The incubation period is about up to 10 days. Some cases can go up to about 20, 30 days. But usually you start seeing them in cases associated with water coolers. Also, remember, it's any stagnant water. It can even be a home humidifier. It could be somebody who's using a respiratory apparatus at home. It can also be related to soil. We do see it sometimes in soil that's used for home gardens.
Yeah.
So it is ubiquitous in the environment, both in the water and in soil. So sometimes it's difficult to determine. Now, it's Legionnaires pneumophilia is found throughout all the environments, but we start seeing cases only in man-made water containers and also reservoirs.
Okay, so I know that you can't get Legionnaires person to person,
Right.
at least like by physically touching someone or breathing on somebody.
Right.
But what if fluids are exchanged, though? Can you get Legionnaires that way?
There's only been one documented case of person-to-person contamination in 2015, but it's very rare. And even if secretions are exchanged, even, for example, if secretions go on a surgical wound, also it has not been documented that that's how it occurs. And that has to do with what we call inoculation dose, meaning how much of the bacteria you have to be exposed to. But it's mostly through aerosolizations, either of water and also sometimes soil.
So would a face, like the masks we wore during the height of COVID, can those masks protect you from getting
Yes, they will.
Legionnaires?
Any physical barrier will be something that would be very useful if you're concerned that you might be exposed to Legionnaires or potentially exposed. So yes, wearing a mask can mitigate the situation.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, because it's through the air, and I have a friend of mine who's young and got Legionnaires in Harlem.
Wow.
And was just tested for it because he went in with flu-like symptoms, right? But who is most susceptible to it?
Actually, everybody,
Really?
but especially people who are either malnourished or immunosuppressed. For example, all of you could potentially have been exposed this morning, and one of the most common ways is through your shower. That's why one of the recommendations that we tell people is before you go into the shower, don't go into the shower. What do? We go into the shower, turn on the faucet, and then turn our head face up and let the water hit our face. That's not good. You should turn on the water, let it run, and then you go in. That's important in general. The people who are more susceptible are immunosuppressed people, and one of the most common people are elderly people because 40% of all the elderly people in our community are malnourished, so they're immunosuppressed.
You just brought something very important. I thought it wasn't through water that you can have in your home, like the tap. So you're saying it could be?
Yes, it can be primarily through the shower head. Also, if the water that you're drinking and it's not filtered, if it has Legionella and you drink it, normally it won't cause a problem, but if you drink it and you aspirate it, gag on it, it goes into your lungs, then it can also get into your lungs and then cause an infection.
I did not know that. I really didn't. But speaking of the showers, though, it wouldn't be in the steam? in those droplets that you can
remember, it grows fairly quickly in stagnant water. So you use the shower in the morning or the afternoon, then all night long, there's always some residual water in the shower head, so it can grow there. So when you turn it on the first thing in the morning, you get a nice little dose if it's been infected.
Who turns their water? I mean, you got to be a psycho to get into that cold water and let the water just hit you. That's a different story.
There's some people who want to rush out to work, right?
What are the specific symptoms, though, that you know maybe I do have Legionnaires?
Yes, Legionnaires in of itself can manifest itself like a common cold, sometimes even as the flu. The outright Legionnaires disease, which implies the pneumonia, can escalate to high fevers, cough. Doesn't have to be productive. Sometimes if you do produce sputum, it can be with blood. Chills, body aches, confusions. There is a more contained infection that's called Pontiac disease, which is more confined to the upper respiratory tract. So you'll feel like a cold, but it should go away on its own for 2 to 5 days.
Is there treatment?
Yes, there's specific antibiotics, especially cephalosporins, ciprofloxacin, then macrolides like erythromycin, azithromycin, chloriphromycin.
For Legionnaires.
For Legionnaires disease, and it's very effective when it's diagnosed, and then it can be treated very easily.
Just real quickly then, what would be your best word of advice to folks to prevent yourself from getting Legionnaires?
Well, first and foremost, we all advise people to filter their waters at home, even put a filter in the shower head. Now, New York City and New York State have laws that mandate every 3 months to have the waters checked in the facilities, and once a year have certification. There's no national standard, but we do have very strong city and state standards. But again, it's like anything else in life, it can grow fairly easily, especially between a water temperature of 70 to 130. So don't take the risk. Put filters, and again, when you go into the shower, let the shower run a little bit before you go in.
Yeah, good advice. The health commissioner told me last week that it was actually because of all the rain we had this year that it was even more prone to it. Dr. Castro, thank you for being here and laying it all out for us. Appreciate it.
Very important information. Thank you so much.